You are always held with unconditional love. When you look up at the moon and stars, you can feel your soul's connection to the entire universe and all its beings. It's possible to make every decision with your mind, body, and spirit in total alignment and wholeness. I'm Divinely Jennifer, translating astrology and health in ways you've never experienced before so that you can choose the path that is right for you. And this is the juicy astrology for the new moon in Libra on October 6, 2021, and the Libra lunar cycle. Welcome. Beauties, can you feel the change in the air? In this juicy astrology, I'm going to be doing things a little bit differently than I have in the past and talking more about the energy of the new moon in Libra on October 6th and the energy of the lunar cycle versus getting into the specifics of the astrological aspects and patterns. If you want to go deep into the astrology and didn't have a chance to register for my free Juicy Astrology webinar yesterday, please send me an email at hello@divinelyjennifer.com so that I can send you the link and the slides. If you really want to know how all of this juicy astrology, and boy, is it intensely juicy, affects you personally, please book a reading with me at my website at www.divinelyjennifer.com. Now that the little bit of housekeeping is over, let's talk about the juicy astrology for the new moon in Libra on October 6th and all of the change in the air with this lunar cycle. In the Northern Hemisphere, the change of shorter days and cooler nights, the leaves beginning to change color, except here in Northern California, where the trees were so poisoned all summer long by the smoke of the big fires that the leaves are simply dying and falling without changing color first. We will be experiencing massive tree die-off here in Northern California this autumn and winter. We already are. I see it in my own backyard. As Mother Earth asks us to lean in and trust her wisdom. Just as the divine is asking us to trust as we witness the old ways dying off. In the Southern Hemisphere, days are getting longer and spring growth is everywhere. Like sprouting acorns taking root, people are restless for their freedom. At some point, the single tree growing out of the ground, its roots strong and its crown reaching to the skies, is too big for a human to take down without hard and deliberate force, especially when it stands in a circle or community with other trees. According to my friends and clients there in Australia, the trees grow stronger by the day, bringing new oxygen to the air and messages of peace, courage, community, and the natural rebellion of the new earth. The new moon in Libra brings with it not just the typical seasonal changes of fall and spring, depending where you live, but the fall of so much more and a wellspring of the new earth love and community that are undeniable. Every day I have the pleasure of connecting with you all personally, and I feel with every cell of my ascending being that this new moon and the entire lunar cycle are preparing us for a new portal. It's decision time. Will you step through the portal when you discover it? Only you can decide. We're being asked to make decisions in many different parts of our lives. We have to decide who we are in our sovereignty and who we are in relation to others. We have to decide if we're going to choose healing over victimhood and shame. We have to decide how to speak our truth in a world where censorship has been normalized. Just ask the coders and algorithm creators for some of the big tech companies. We have to decide if our work in the world is aligned with our hearts. And in every area of our lives, we are being asked to choose love or fear, sovereignty or conformity. We are being asked to choose language and communication in service to love. For some, these may seem like easy, soul-inspired decisions, and for others, they are decisions that will shape the rest of their lives. Decisions which will require vision, inspiration, and strategy, especially because Libra struggles making a decision. I don't think any of us is immune to the vitriol and polarity that have permeated our relationships with our loved ones, our friends, our families, our communities, and our beliefs, like an infection for which there seems to be no certain cure. Oh, but that's the secret, my friends. Love is the secret cure, the most transformative medicine that exists and has ever existed on the planet. It may not always heal our physical bodies completely, although it can, but it heals everything else. With Venus in Scorpio ruling the chart for this new moon, giving and receiving love unconditionally could be the secret, an abundant elixir and ritual that have eluded the mainstream, which instead has chosen to create battles and separation through delusion and authority. Loving others unconditionally does not mean letting people walk all over us or subjecting ourselves to an environment or a poison that could cause us unknown and indelible harm, whether to our bodies or spirits. Indeed, this new moon is all about having the courage and love to set boundaries in our relationships in innovative ways so that we can create new structures and new foundations in the soul tribe community we wish to help build. As we will be reminded day after day over the next 4 lunar cycles, we often have to let things die before something new can be born. With this lunar cycle, beginning with the new moon in Libra on October 6th, we have to decide which relationships to nourish, which to set boundaries around for their survival and well-being, and which to let go into the ethers for the rest of this life. Regardless which decision you make about your relationships, this lunar cycle asks us to choose love, not vitriol, not poisonous words, not war, although there will be times our love certainly gets tested for all of us, even those who are the most awakened among us. We may be pushed to the brink. That's why it's so important to limit our communication and create boundaries around the information we allow into our energy fields, whether going on a news and social media fast or deleting the apps altogether. This new moon in Libra cycle reminds us that we are ultimately responsible for how we react to a situation. If someone says something to us that triggers us, how we deal with that trigger is solely our responsibility. Is there a lot of goading and button pushing happening right now? As my friends in Minnesota like to say, you betcha. But like a mountaintop over the cloud line, you have the power to rise above it, to rise above the chaos, the fighting, and all the ways the media, some government officials, and the corporations want you to react to the information they are putting out into the world. They want to fight so that they can be right and they can use force. However, this revolution will not be won with guns or brute force. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to react with as much love and the highest vibrations you possibly can. And that love has to start for yourself. Let's look specifically at the energy of Libra. Libra is a cardinal sign, meaning that it starts off a new season, autumn in the northern hemisphere and spring in the southern. Libra is a relationship visionary. It sees through the world, through the lens of beauty, like the precious intimacy of the red, orange, and yellow leaves of autumn. And Libra believes in the potential of all life, knowing that even if the world seems like it's slowing down, it's all temporary, and new life will be born again in the spring. Likewise, Libra experiences the world through frequency. Libra is the sign of peace and harmony. Some people experience peace and harmony through sound, music, voices, the sounds of nature, possibly the hum of a sexy motor or engine. For others, they feel the energy in the moment and know when it is or is not harmonious and peaceful. And a lot of us are becoming more sensitive to the feeling of the harmony or disharmony. Libra is also about balance. Balance does not necessarily mean equality. A good marriage does not measure how much time one person has spent doing the dishes and then making sure the other person in the relationship spends exactly that much time doing the dishes. Rather, it's the balance of yin and yang, masculine and feminine, material and ethereal, you and me. No matter how the two people in the relationship gender or sexually identify, each person brings their strengths and gifts to the relationship and shares them in their particular way. Someone I love dearly recently explained it to me as relationship math. Each person in a relationship, whether romantic or platonic, is responsible for no more and no less than 50% of the relationship. That means no one person is responsible for 75 or 38 or 49.99% of the relationship. 50 plus 50 equals 100. And each person is 100% responsible for their 50%. They must commit to being 100% responsible for their 50% for the relationship to thrive. They must commit to 100% to their own reactions, their own triggers, their own gifts, and their own expressions of love. And that can be really challenging in a world so out of balance. Think of somebody you know who teaches yoga. By now, we pretty much all know somebody who teaches yoga. And if those of you who get to practice with Alejandra in Laredo, Kathleen in Mansfield, and Carlina, Pete, or Samantha in New Jersey are seriously lucky people. Here's the thing. No yoga teacher came out of the womb doing handstands, headstands, or even tree pose. They had to learn and practice balance. In order to teach balance, they must practice it every single day. That's what makes them such good teachers. Do you notice how closing your eyes when standing on one foot can throw you so off balance? Or how when you're not centered in your core, it's so much easier to fall over, either literally or figuratively? It's the same thing in relationships. When we close our eyes because we're not willing to see the truth about how our relationship impacts our frequency and our inner harmony, it can throw us off balance, and we can't be of highest service to ourselves or to the world. It blinds us to the reality of the imbalance. For anyone who has put off seeing or telling the truth in their relationships, it's decision time. For anyone who hasn't been willing or able to infuse their relationships with as much compassion and love as their frequency allows, it's decision time. For anyone who has sacrificed their sovereignty to salvage a relationship, it's decision time. When there is not love, sovereignty, and harmony, Libra asks for justice. Many of you will want to take to the streets over the next few weeks. The energy between the new moon on October 6th and October 22nd is extremely volatile. You may even want to go to war as the mainstream 3D world, like an obnoxious teenager, pushes your boundaries and your comfort level to the extremes. How much are you willing to take before enough is enough? Some of you will try to find justice through war. While I honor your desire to bravely and courageously fight for what you believe is right and true, war never brings harmony, sovereignty, or love. War never brings justice. Revolution doesn't have to be violent, loud, or ugly. While revolution does portend to endings and even death, especially death to old systems that were created to serve the few through imbalance of wealth and power. It is much more about transformation that can lead to a rebirth. Right now, standing in your divine sovereignty may feel revolutionary. Shining your light on extreme polarity through love and harmonious frequency may be considered an act of sacred rebellion. As we move through the 4 weeks of this lunar cycle, we will watch old paradigms and its servants fall from grace and begin to compose and decay. It may feel cold, gray, dark, and damp at times, as autumn so often does. I encourage you to go out into nature as much as possible and receive her wisdom. The wisdom of change, transformation, and ultimately rebirth. A few more reflections on this lunar cycle. Both Mercury and Ceres are or will be retrograde in air signs, signs of ideas, ideals, and communication. Mercury will be retrograde until October 18th, while Ceres stations retrograde on October 8th or 9th, depending on your location. Mercury asks us to review communication in our one-on-one relationships. Do we communicate with love, or do we antagonize with polarity, whether consciously or unconsciously? Can you see both sides of the story? Likewise, Ceres in Gemini encourages us to revise our communications to be more fertile as we conceive a language that is more aligned with the high frequencies and vibrations of the new Earth. Together in their grand trine to Saturn, Mercury and Ceres are providing clarity about boundaries and structures in communication, especially in relationships and our daily communication. Just like your phone or computer, when something goes wrong, reboot. This is especially the case when the Sun, Mars, and retrograde Mercury all come together in 3 big conjunctions between October 7 to 9. With the Pluto-Eris square going exact for the 5th and final time on October 8th and 9th, depending on where you are, the expression, "them's fattin' words," has perhaps never rung more true. As I said earlier, you don't have to take the bait. Read the 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz if you're prone to making assumptions or taking things personally. Post them on your fridge as a reminder. Meditate, pray, exercise, pull cards, read, give your honey a back rub, buy them flowers, sit on a park bench holding hands, get a pedicure with your bestie, make love. Feed your mind and your heart through positive, beautiful actions that raise your frequency. Pluto, then Saturn, then Jupiter, then Mercury will all have turned direct, forward motion by the time we get to the full moon on October 20th. Finally, some green lights to go instead of detours and flashing yellows, if we can dodge the proverbial carnage in the streets. By the time we reach the end of the lunar cycle, you'll have a pretty clear idea around which relationships you're able to nourish and which nourish you. You'll have enough evidence to determine if the relationships are balanced and contribute to your sovereignty or not. You'll also be feeling a lot more passionate about the relationships you do decide to preserve, because those relationships inspire you to be your best self. With all of the assaults on our physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being during this lunar cycle, there are a few modalities that are particularly aligned to the energy of Libra. First, music and sound. Listen to music and sounds that raise your vibration. Check out Jane Mayer's music on Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, or her website. She's been channeling some really beautiful music and high vibe lyrics. If you have access to sound healing, Tibetan or crystal bowls, even the whispers of the breezes in the trees and the songs of the birds singing will raise our frequency and bring us inner peace and harmony, at least a little more than we had before. Remember that food and drink also have a frequency. Not all carrots are created equally. Consider reducing or removing alcohol from your daily consumption, as it can often make us susceptible to spirits and energies that do not serve us. No matter whether you're able to buy organic or barely have the time or money for a hot dog from the 7-Eleven, gently speaking in your mind or out loud a prayer of gratitude for whatever you're about to consume can raise your vibration as well as the vibration of the food or drink. Biologically, it also resets your nervous system so that you are better able to digest it. If you have a Healy device, use it. And if you want more info about the Healy, which uses microcurrents to literally retune and rebalance one's frequencies, please send me an email at hello@divinelyjennifer.com and I can send you more information. Aromatherapy can also be beneficial, as each essential oil has its unique vibration. A good aromatherapist knows how to create the balance between the low, medium, and high notes of the scents. Or you can purchase pre-blended oils like I do. The perfect blends for this Libra cycle are like Balance and Serenity by doTERRA. I'll put the link in the info below and on my website. Finally, consider incorporating activities that strengthen your sense of balance, such as yoga, tai chi, and bicycle riding. Even floating in a pool of water helps us balance through the paradox of relaxation and surrender. I do have a friend who's teaching, she just did this, I think intuitively, she's teaching a yoga for balance class through the entire Libra lunar cycle. So I'll post her information as well in case you want to take the class. All right, my loves, you may be feeling a little overwhelmed by all of this energy. And you may already be strapping on your cute and sexy boots that have been sitting in your closet for months waiting to be appreciated. Or for my friends in Sydney, those strappy heels. Remember that Libra wants us to bless others by creating beauty and love, like sprinkling magical pixie glitter in the autumn breeze. Even if you feel alone in this moment, I know there are a lot of you who have reached out to say you are feeling alone in this moment. If you feel lost or scared or angry, there are hundreds or maybe thousands of people watching this video or listening to the audio who love you, even if they haven't met you, because of your beauty and the beauty you bring to the world. Allow that love to infuse your being so that you can then share it with others. If you're really not sure how to do that, please head over to my website, www.divinelyjennifer.com, and book a session with me so that we can explore the divine wisdom of your cosmic natal blueprint and how to support your well-being in the coming shifts and transformations. I love you. Thank you for joining me in this beautiful community of lightworkers on a journey towards the new earth. This has been the Juicy Astrology for the new moon in Libra on October 6, 2021, and the Libra lunar cycle. I'm Divinely Jennifer, and I'll see you the next time.